Space, the final frontier.
Okay, Trekkie Dave here. So today I'm wanting to give you my top 50 iconic films of all time. And I've spoken about this list before, but this is a list I've actually been working an entire decade on. But to be honest, this is a list that I've been working my entire life on. Because when I say that these are iconic, I know you guys know what that means. To me, that means image, sound, and story. Basically, I'm telling you that these 50 films are perfect. And what I want to do today is I'm not going to go through the technical merits because that's what I'm telling you is that they're perfect. So I'm just going to let you know the list, the order, and what these films personally mean to me, okay? And I've dressed up today because to me this is similar to doing my Oscar wins. I'm giving you what I believe are perfect films, and I want this list down permanently because when I'm gone, I want my sons, they've seen a lot of these films, but my expectation is that they see all of them because of how much these films mean to me. Sorry, I'm a bit congested today, but I'm going to literally begin at number 1, go through number 50, and list the films and tell you why they mean so much to me, and then that will be it, okay? So I'm going to take my glasses off. I don't think I need them to read this list. Okay, number 1, and this will be not a surprise to anyone, I'm sure. Number 1 is Star Trek: The Motion Picture from 1979. And this film means so much to me because I saw it on opening night with my mother, who loved Star Trek. Okay, number 2 for me, which has shifted to the number 2 spot, and I've discussed this film a lot with you guys and how much it means to me, but it's The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi. I absolutely love this film, and you guys know why. Okay, number 3 for me is Batman 89. Batman 89 I saw on opening night with my best friend Jeremy, and that I have been waiting 30 years for another iconic quintessential Batman film, which me and my family went to the Batman yesterday. I believe that movie has equaled Batman 89. But Batman 89 means so much to me. And like I said, I saw it with my best friend in 1989, and I still remember that night and the excitement of seeing that film. Okay, number 4 for me is Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. This is a film that I saw in grade 7, and it was kind of interesting because I saw it with my friend Kenny, and the day that we saw it was sports day at our school. And we went to this film on kind of a whim. When we were done sports day, back then they used to bring in McDonald's, and we had sports day, and Ken's like, do you want to go see a movie? So we went out and saw Star Trek 2, and and just loved it. And what was kind of neat about that is on our way back, we ran into other friends who had gone to see Rocky 3, and in both films, a main character had died. In Star Trek 2, obviously it was Spock. And in Rocky 3, it was his trainer. And I just remember us discussing on the bus whose death was more quintessential. Anyways, number 5 for me is Blade Runner. That's a film I've always loved. I didn't see it in the theater, but we used to, at my house, we had something called First Choice. It was one of the first movie channels. And I watched this movie back before there were VHSs. And I just love that film. Okay. Number 6 for me is Dune, the new Dune. I've discussed that. It's my favorite film of the year. Number 7 for me is Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. A story I have about that film is when it came out, I went with a group of friends. There were 7 of us, and we were by ourselves. We didn't have parental supervision. But we got to the movie theater really early and got our tickets, but it was like, I don't remember, it was 10 in the morning. And we had to wait until 6 o'clock to see it, so we had to wait in line. And there was a group of older kids ahead of us that were going to the comic shop and getting the Marvel comic and stuff. And it was just an all-day event. It was just very cool. Okay. Number 8 is The Batman, which I'm going to talk about on another video. But my favorite film since I guess The Last Jedi, and my favorite Batman film since Batman '89. And we had a great experience. Went with my family yesterday to go see it. Okay. Number 9 for me is Dunkirk. This is a Christopher Nolan film. I think it's a cinematic masterpiece. The greatest war film ever made, in my opinion. A film about basically the British Empire standing up alone against Nazi Germany in that first year. I went to that film a couple of times in the theater, and I've watched it on Blu-ray now probably 30 times. But to me, it's a cinematic masterpiece. Okay, number 10 for me is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Just the whole way that film came about. To me, it really is the perfect comic book movie. And Zack Snyder's 4-hour epic, the likes of which I know we will never see again. And just the way that it just seemed for so long that film would never happen. And now it has. I mean, I just love to pop it in and watch it. It's just such an amazing film. Okay, number 12 for me is Moonraker. That's a film, as you know, I saw with my father. Number 13 for me is Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. That's a film I watched Halloween that goes back to when I was a child. Number 14 is 2001: A Space Odyssey. Number 15 is Serenity. Just love that film. Number 16 is Eternals. Love that film. Marvel. Number 17 is Planet of the Apes. That's a film that I saw on TV as a child. I just love that film. Okay. Number 18 is Howard Hawks' The Thing from Another World. I still believe that it's the greatest Thing film. And basically it's a film about the greatest generation who had just got off of the Second World War fighting an alien invasion with confidence and conviction. I just love that film. Okay, number 19 for me is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Just love that film. There's a whole Star Wars vibe that film has going with it that I just love. Number 20 for me is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I saw that with a group of friends as well, and I remember it being kind of a controversial film. It still kind of is, where there's a little bit of racism involved in that film, which is kind of funny. And I know that Steven Spielberg and George Lucas sort of disowned it at one point because of that, which I thought was kind of silly because they were trying to recreate the 1930s serial that was racist, or had racist elements to it. And so I thought it was kind of funny that they took issue with their own property when they actually did a very loyal interpretation of those serials. But something that I love about the Temple of Doom is that in that film, Indiana Jones isn't a Boy Scout. He's there to get the jewels for his own personal profit. And because of what happened with Temple of Doom, with the subsequent movies, they made it about going to a museum. So this is the last time that we had Indiana Jones as a hard-edged character, which is the Indiana Jones I like. Next one, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Just love this film, and I've had on other episodes why. Okay, next film after that is a film directed by a Canadian director, Avalon, and it's a film about immigrants coming to Toronto and settling in at the turn of the century. I just love that film. It's so layered. Okay, number 23 is King Kong from 1933. 24 is Aliens. Aliens is a film that I went to in high school with my friends Jason and Marco. And I just remember us being so impressed with the whole sci-fi futuristic military aspect of that film. That film has always stood out for me. And I've always personally loved the whole Ripley, Newt, mother-daughter theme. Okay, number 25 for me is The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. I know that a lot of people put Lord of the Rings ahead, but I remember seeing this film and saying to the group of people that we went to that I felt like there was just something about this film that I felt like I was seeing The Empire Strikes Back for the first time. So it's always stood to me as the best of all of the Peter Jackson, Hobbit, Lord of the Ring films. Okay? Number 26 is The Matrix. That's a very layered film about identity and everything. I just love that film. Okay, number 27 for me is Sherlock Holmes and the Scarlet Claw from 1944. It's a classic. What I love about that film is that it sets place in Quebec, Canada, and this sort of moor area where Sherlock Holmes is fighting a supernatural creature that he doesn't believe in. And of course he's right, there is no supernatural character, but I love that it takes place in Canada. Okay, number 28 for me is Universal Studios' Bride of Frankenstein. It's my favorite of the Universal films. Number 25 for me is The Last of the Mohicans. I saw that film in my 20s with a group of people, and what I remember most about that film is us being out at dinner afterwards discussing it, because that film has a lot of social commentary to it. It's a bit of an art house film, and I hadn't really had much experience at that point with art house films, and I just remember being out to dinner and thinking we were so sophisticated discussing this film. Okay, number 30 for me is a film called Blue Velvet that I saw with my friend from university, or no, I didn't see with my friend, but it was my friend Steven's favorite film when I met him in university. And I had actually seen the film before I met him, and I hated the movie. I thought it was horrible, and I did not understand why he liked it. And when he moved here to go to university, his father got him a Laserdisc machine because he was studying film. And Stephen invited me over, and he and I and his sister watched this film. And Stephen gave me a running commentary on what he loved about that film. And what happened is it completely changed my perspective of that movie. And going forward, I then loved that film because of that experience. And it sort of taught me not to prejudge films. Because what makes Blue Velvet such a great film is that it's so layered and it can be analyzed. So it just changed my perspective on how I saw films. So that's kind of neat. Okay, number 31 for me is The Big Lebowski. I've always loved The Big Lebowski. It's such a guy film, and it's just such a great film. Okay, number 32 for me is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I've loved this film for years, but one of the reasons that I truly love this film is my father-in-law, Barry, loves Westerns and loves this film. So when he comes to visit, we watch this film. So it's become more than just a film to me, okay? Number 33 for me is Rear Window. That was one of my mom's favorite films, and I've only seen it on TV, but the whole introduction of going from apartment to apartment and him viewing people and so forth, I just remember watching that film with her, and just the ambience of it, of being in and watching that film. One last thing about that film. Watching that film as a 12-year-old, Grace Kelly, oh my God. Like, I've never had like crushes on movie stars or anything like that through my life. But Grace Kelly, I remember being a 12-year-old and watching that film and being absolutely blown away. Like, that woman back then, I don't even know if she's still alive. I have no idea. But, wow. She was the definition of a movie star. Well, she was the definition of grace. Okay, number 34 for me is Brazil. That's a film that I saw in the theater with my friend Paul, and it was such an unusual film. I just remember us discussing afterwards whether the main character died at the end or not, because we didn't know. And to be honest, I don't know to this day, but it's an amazing film. Number 35 is Crimes and Misdemeanors, which in my opinion is Woody Allen's best film. Number 36 for me is M. Night Shyamalan film called Signs. I love Signs because of its religious aspect, and I think it's M. Night Shyamalan's best film. And the idea of a priest losing his faith because of the death of his wife and then getting his faith back. And signs aren't referring to these crop circles. Signs are actually referring to, are things predetermined or not? Because he loses his faith because he believes his wife died for no reason. And then when she's dying, she makes a comment to him that in this pivotal moment, when they're fighting for their house, all these things happen. So are they a coincidence, or are they faith? Are they predetermined by God? I believe they're predetermined by God. It's unusual for a Hollywood film to tackle religion in this way, but as somebody who studied theology in university, I think this is a film that respects religion and respects faith. And the last shot, where in the entire film, where you see him leave his bathroom and you see the shadow of where a cross used to be, and now the cross is back and he's wearing his priest. It's just an iconic moment. And again, M. Night Shyamalan's best film. Okay, number 37 for me is Forbidden Planet. This was one of my mom's favorite films, and I just love this movie. Okay, number 38 for me is John Carpenter's Halloween. This is a film that I saw as a child on TV that my sister loved, and I've watched it every Halloween since, and I think it's John Carpenter's best work. Okay, number 39 for me is Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. I've always had an emotional attachment to this film, and my wife does as well. We've watched it together. I actually cry at this film every time I watch it. There's just something about it, the whole Mary Jane, Peter Parker, and the idea that he can't live both worlds. And then she says, well, you're going to live both worlds because I'm going to make you have a normal life with me and be Spider-Man, and takes the pressure off of him. There's just an emotional attachment I have to this film. Number 40 for me is Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World. My dad, growing up, loved all nautical, British Navy nautical films and stuff, and he loved this film. And I think that's why I love this film so much. And I've got the book, and I know my dad, he didn't read a lot of non-fiction books, but I know he appreciated the whole British Empire going up against Napoleon aspect of that film. Okay, sorry, I'm a bit parched here. One quick sec. Number 41 is Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is a film, my youngest son Ethan loves Quentin Tarantino, and I went with him to this film twice, and it's my favorite. I don't know if it's his favorite Tarantino film. I don't think it is, but it is mine, mostly because of the buddy aspect of it. And I have that tied to the film because of my son. But the whole idea of these characters getting revenge on what the Manson family did to Sharon Tate, because anybody knows what Sharon Tate did or what happened to Sharon Tate, is just horrible. And I love that. This is the one time where Tarantino goes full revenge on somebody, where it's completely justified. And that flamethrower scene, I just love. Okay, number 42 is a film called Swingers. This is the ultimate guy film. I saw this film with my friends Jeremy, Ruben, Paul, and Woody. And this is the ultimate guy film. So anyways, it's awesome. Number 43 is the Grand Budapest Hotel. This is one of the most artistic and what's the word? Well done films ever. It uses a lot of miniatures and stuff, and the whole idea of the characters standing up against Nazis, it's just so great. Okay, number 44 is Joker, which I think my wife and I just watched that a few days ago. It's sort of a Martin Scorsese version of Batman, sort of, but the music, just everything about it, I just love that film. Number 46 is Black Panther. Ryan Coogler. The year that was nominated for Best Picture, it should have won because it deserved to win, and just addressing the whole racism and all of that. Because that year Green Book won, but in my opinion, it shouldn't have. It should have been Black Panther. Okay, number 46 is Bram Stoker's Dracula. That's a film that I watch every Halloween. It's not an accurate interpretation of the book. The book's actually my favorite book of all time. But Francis Ford Coppola adds the whole romance between between Mina and Dracula, which I think adds a modern element. And it's such a Victorian um, uh, visual feast. It's just such a pleasure to watch. Okay, number 47 is Jojo Rabbit. That's a film that my family and I really kind of fought to see, sort of, because we kept missing it. And it's a Tiki with Tiki film, and I just love it. I love the way it tackles Nazism from the point of view of a child. And to me, it's a quintessential film. Okay, number 48 for me is one of my dad's favorite films of all time, The Seahawk. I love The Seahawk. It's from 1940, and interesting enough, it makes a comparison between the British standing up against Spain in 1474 and England standing up against Nazism in 1940. Okay, number 49 for me is The Shape of Water. Very much a social commentary film about, in this case, she has a romantic affair with a universal monster. But it's all about identity and inclusion with social commentary. I love it. Okay, and last but not least, Terrence Malick's The Tree of Life. I just love The Tree of Life. I think it's a cinematic masterpiece. That's it for my top 50 films. And like I said, I feel like I'm unveiling my Oscar winners to you. That's how important this list is to me. One last thing I want to say here before I end this video. With what's going on in the world right now, I just want to do a shout out to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. I think he has been Churchill-like in his comments and in his, in his actions concerning Russia and COVID-19. He has become, to me, the greatest Prime Minister of my lifetime. I honestly believe that. Prior to this, I thought it was his father, but I don't think his father came close to facing any kind of challenges like this. And it's clear to me that Justin learned from his father and has taken those skills and applied it right now to these catastrophes. So I want to do my God bless today out to Justin and his family and to thank them for what they've done. And I agree with him that this is not a normal moment in time. We haven't faced something like this since standing down Nazism back in the 1940s. And this is a struggle that we have to win. We cannot lose this. Online is literally Western civilization, democracy, and our values. If we lose this to Trump and to Putin, we are never getting it back. So, Justin, thank you for what you have done. And God bless you and your family from me and my family. And that's it for this episode. Trekkie Dave, out.